Hello everyone, it's Cardboard Collection. I'm Rezvan.
And I'm Steven. And today we figured we'd bring you a how to play for
um, dra- Dreadful Meadows.
Dreadful Meadows. Yep. We figured we'd bring you a how to play for Dreadful Meadows. This is from Arkus. They just say Arkus. You look them up, it'll say games, but we'll just say Arkus. Maybe it's games, maybe it's studios, but it's from Arkus. 1 to 4 players. It takes around 45 minutes. Our first playthrough was a little bit more than that, obviously. It's for ages 13 plus. And the 1 and 4 is because there's a solo mode, obviously. So, all right, let's get into how to play it.
Yes.
All right, everybody, let's go over the setup. All right, so for the setup, first we put out the marketplace, which we have right there. Next, we place the candy in the market, and see if I can move this. It'll show you where each candy goes. So you just go ahead and get all the candies out and put them in the markets. All right, the next thing you do is you deal each player 3 confection cards. You give them 1 9, 1 6, 1 3. Everyone has a 9, a 6, and a 3. Once you give everyone that, you take the rest of the, I call them confections. God, I call them confections because that's candy. They are concoctions. They're not drinks, but they call them concoctions. Mm-hmm. So you give each person a 3, a 9, and a 6 concoction card, shuffle all the rest, and you go ahead and set it right there. All right, once that's done, then we want to go and put out harvesters, and it depends on how many people you're playing with. We're set up for 4, so that's all 13 of these little harvesters. All right, Then the next thing that you want to do is you want to see how many players you're playing with. We're playing with 4 players, so we do not take any of these patches out. If you play with the less than 4 players, then you would take some patches out. But we have all the patches involved.
Yeah.
All right, the next thing, you look at whoever the player is who most recently ate a piece of candy. For now, we have Misha going wild. For now, we have, this is our first player. Jack over here is our first player.
Number 1.
So you give them, you start with them, and everyone gets one of these, the dreadful trees, right? Everyone gets a dreadful tree. But the first player gets gummy globs. The second player gets the Phantomellows. The third player gets
Treacle teeth.
Treacle teeth. I've never heard that one before.
And other one, pumpkin pops.
Pumpkin pops. And the other way it's easy to tell is first player gets the $1 one, $2 one, $3 one, and $4 one. All right. So once you've divvied all that out, then you go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I wanted to show them. Here it's a point about it. Okay. Good.
All right. Once you do that, then you go ahead and take all your remaining patches, right? All the ones of these that are remaining, and you just dump them in your little seed bag. You give them a good shake, and you slap this down on the board where everybody can get them. The one thing it doesn't tell you to do in the rule book, a lot of rule books tend not to, you should go ahead and give this reference guide to everybody. It tells everybody what they do on their turn on one side, and on the back, it gives you your sprite power for removing a sprite, right? Or retrieving. I keep calling it removing, but retrieving a sprite.
Yeah.
All right. So once you do that, then you have these boards. There are actually 5 of them. I don't know where the box went, so I can show you the extra one. Oh, it's right here. There's actually 5 to choose from. So you pick one of those, and you go ahead. You either have each player pick one of these, or you randomly give them out. Right? So you'd have to do it under the table and just hand each person one of the 5 different ones. So give each person, either let them choose or randomly give them out. And the reason you would randomly give them out is because it's asymmetrical. Each of these players has a passive power that they can use during the game. So once each player gets their confectioner, you go ahead and give them their little sprites, their 3 sprites, and it's color matched, and the pictures match on the little, I guess you can call them meeples or tokens, the sprites, spriples. You go ahead and put those out. Once you do that, you are locked, cocked, ready to rock, and you're good to play the game. All right, once you have everything set up, you're ready to play. And how this game works, it's a little convoluted. You just moved to Dreadful Meadows and you want to be a confectioner. You want to be someone who makes candies too. So you work with some of these big names in the business, right? So you have Luna and Jack and Igor and Nina, right? And you work with them. The other way you could just look at it, it works just as well, is that you are these characters. So how it works is the confectioners are trying to make the most candy they can for the season and have the best candy. The way you have the best candy is to get the highest victory points. How you get victory points are by completing these concoction cards, which I'll try not to call confection cards. Completing your concoction cards, building out your patch, right? Having harvesters on that patch. And then the other one that you score is your candy that you have left over, and we'll talk about that at the end. So the point of the game is to have the most victory points. How you get those victory points is by confectioner cards, the harvesters being out in your patches, building your patches, and the candy on your board for the most part. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into the actions that you take in this game. So how this game will play, and we have the card right here where we have it showing. Starting with the first player and going clockwise around the board, you choose one of these actions, right? You purchase patches, you place a sprite on a patch, you purchase a harvester. When you purchase the patches and the harvesters, you're buying them and putting them out. And then the last one is you would retrieve a sprite. So you have 4 things that you have that you can do. You must do one of these 4 things. And then the other thing you could do is you can take candy from your patches and you can put it on your concoction cards. And then we'll go over that is kind of the 5th thing, but it's a free action that you can do. So let's go ahead and go through these one by one. Okay, so let's go over the first of the 4 things that you can choose from for your action. The first thing would be buying a patch. So these are your patches. This is the market right here. To buy a patch, the cost will be whatever that patch is. So you have $4, $2, $1, and the cost for that market space. So you have $4 plus 3, $2 plus 2, $1 plus 1, $3 plus 0. So you go ahead and choose how you pay for those patches is with your candy. Your candy costs is your money. So as you can see, your dreadful trees are $5, your Phantomellows are $2. So you have a total of $7 here. Now,
special, each player is a different. First player just have a $6, second player 7, third player 8, and fourth player had a $9.
Yes, to start with, as you're starting.
Yes.
All right, so you have different amounts that you get to start with, but the candy is your money. Mm-hmm. So the thing to keep in mind, right now, this player can buy this patch right here, the pumpkin pops, because they have, they have 7. This is 7, 4 plus 3. They could buy that right out. But if they decided they wanted these Phantomellows because they have some, they could take the tree, it's worth 5, the dreadful tree, and they can buy the Phantomellow. They get no change back. Any extra that you pay over the cost, so this would be $4, there'd be an extra 1, you don't get that back. Once you have this patch, you go ahead and place it. The rules for placing a patch are fairly simple. It just has to be adjacent to a patch that is already set down. And think about it as flat side versus flat side. That's adjacent. this is not considered adjacent, right? So there's a handful of positions that the Phantom Mellow can go, the patch that you bought can go. Once you place it, once you're done and your turn's over, you can no longer move that patch. It is permanently there till the end of the game. Now, once your turn's done, you can buy as many patches as you want. So they started off, well, let's just go back really quick. They started off with, the trees. I was trying to do Phantom Mellows. These are slightly the same color, so even the other night when we were playing, it kept messing everybody up. All right, so the Dreadful Tree, so we have 7 points. Maybe we don't want to buy this for 7 straight up. Maybe we don't want to buy this and waste some of our points. We look down here. This is 2 points. That one is 3 points. We can buy actually both these patches if we want. You can buy as many patches as you want, and we can pay with this because we have 2 points plus 3 points gives us 5 points. We could pay with that. Now we have 2 patches. Same thing. You can put them wherever you want. You can put one at a time. You could even do something like that with the patch if you wanted to build it out that way, right? But you can have both patches. So let's say they did that for this turn. Mm-hmm. That would be the buying patch action. At the end of the turn, you see these arrows here. All the patches slide down from the market. And you go ahead and grab 2 more patches from the bag randomly. Don't be a Resvon and peek and try to get the best patches. And then you go ahead and set those patches down. And you fill it in from right to left. You shift everything right and then fill in the slots from right to left.
I want to say, it's better you don't choose like me together, both together, and decide. One by one, it's better. Yeah.
Resvon chose poorly. Yes, you're supposed to choose one patch at a time and set it down, and you fill it from right to left on the board. Okay, so the second thing out of the 4 options you have for your action is to place one of your sugar sprites. So we're going to use old Jack here for our example, and we got a patch set up. So when you take your sugar sprite, when you put the sugar sprite down, you can't put it on a patch that has something on it. So that would be candy, that would be any of the tractors, harvesters. He can't go there, for example. He can't go there. Now, I guess we can leave that there for just for example's sake. All right, so let's say we take the sugar sprite and he bounces right where I want him to go. And we set him down right here. The sugar sprite spawns candy on all 4 of the adjacent patches that have nothing on it. So in this case, we would have 1 pumpkin pop here, and we would get 1 pumpkin pop here. We would get nothing right here because it still has a candy on it. There's a candy there. We would get nothing right here because there is a harvester. Now.
Like a blockhead. Yeah?
Okay. Now, the other thing when you place the sprite, if you do choose to place it on a spot that has a piece of candy, you have to give up that candy. You put it back to the supply, you get that candy no more. He can go there. Now you will put candies on all the adjacents once again. So that would get a candy, this would get a candy, and this would get a candy.
Yeah.
So when placing, you can't place him on harvesters. And if there's candy there, you would have to remove the candy to place him down. All right, let's go to the third thing out of the 4 things you can choose from for your action. And the third thing would be purchasing and placing a harvester, basically purchasing a harvester. So to purchase a harvester, you have to figure out which patch you want to put the harvester on. And there's some restrictions. Harvesters cannot go on Dreadful Tree patches at all. Empty or with something on it, they can't go on a Dreadful Tree patch. Harvester cannot go on a patch while it is being occupied by a sprite. So if you wanted this patch, you would have to wait until this, whoops, I kind of moved it. You'd have to wait until this sprite kind of leaves. So candy doesn't matter because you can use the candy to pay for your harvester. So no Dreadful Trees for the harvester, right? They also, to get the harvester, you have to have 4 patches around it. And one of the reasons you have to have that is the cost of your harvester is the sum of the 4 patches around. So I can't put a harvester here or here. I can't put a harvester here because it's a dreadful tree, right? So this is my patch, or this is the patch that Nina can actually put a harvester on. And there's a candy there. So the cost of the harvester is the sum of the 4 adjacent. So we have 1, 6, 8, 9. So it would take 9 points to buy a harvester and place it there. So you can place it because that candy's there. If you have to, either you use the candy to pay for the harvester, or you just have to get rid of the candy to place it there. You can't have a candy there and then set the harvester there too. You can't do that. But luckily we can use that candy to pay for the harvester. So we need 9 points. So right now there's $3 or $9, or there's $3. There is $6. If we go like that, we have $9. Now, once we get the $9, we can set the harvester down right there. So this is how the harvester works. It amplifies the sprite's ability to gather more candy. So let's say we have this sprite, right? And on another one of Nina's turns, she decides to set down a sprite. If she puts a sprite down right here, it's got to be adjacent to the harvester, right? In corners, that's why they make these little gaps in them. Corners aren't adjacent. So if you set her down right here, and I'm not saying this is the best option, but you set her down there, the sprite would generate a candy right here. Nothing there, harvester here. She doesn't generate candy on the spot that the harvester's on. Resvon likes the harvesters laying like that so you can see them. She doesn't generate candy right there. But the harvester would generate candy here. Can't do that because we have a sprite. Generate candy here. Can't do that. There is a candy already there. But then the harvester can generate 1 candy right there, like that. So the harvester amplifies the sprite's ability. And then at the end, the harvester gets you more points at the end, but we'll talk about that. It's basically for the patch, and then it makes clusters. It makes the clusters scoreable, but we'll get to that in the scoring. All right, now for the fourth thing you can do for your action. Remember, you have to choose one of the 4 that we've gone over, but the fourth thing that you can choose to do for your action is you can pick up a sprite. So let's say Igor here has a sprite right there. So for his action, he can go ahead and pick up this sprite. When he picks up this sprite, there are things that happen based on the different colors, and it shows you on the back of your reference card. These are your actions you can do. We're doing that one right there, right? Retrieve your sprite. And then on this side, it has the 4 things. For example, our sugar globs gain 1 candy of your choice from the, gain 1 candy of your choice for a concoction card. So you can look at the cards down here and gain 1 candy from the supply. So you can go like that and you can put a candy right here, which that completes that card, but we'll go over that later. All right, so this is what this one does. And as you can see, they each do their own things. I'm not going to go over all of them. You guys can go ahead and look them up. But these are all the retrieve sprite options that you can do. Now remember that different players have different special abilities that they can go with. I remember reading one of them, when you pick up a sprite, no matter where you pick it up, even if I picked it up from orange, I can choose any of these things to happen. Yeah. I don't have to just pick the orange patch. So that's retrieving your sprite. Here we go. So for the last thing, this is a free action that you can do. You can actually do it anytime during your turn. You can take candies from your patches and you can place it on cards. So right here, we placed a candy on a card. What happens once you fulfilled that concoction card is you take the candy, you put it back in the market, and you just go ahead and flip the card upside down like that. That means that's locked for in-game scoring. Now you have these ones to work on. Now, another thing to keep in mind when you do this is that the dreadful trees are considered wild. The patches and the candies actually are considered wild. They can replace any candy on your concoction card, right? So in these instances, they can be the pumpkin pops. They can be, what are they, gummy gummy globs. The gummy globs, they can be the phantom mellows, right? Your dreadful tree is a wild and it can be placed on the card anywhere. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is how you get more of these concoction cards is if you have, here, let's just move some of this right here. If you have one of your sugar sprites on top of a dreadful tree, when you take the remove action, when you remove it from a dreadful tree, you can draw one concoction card, right? You just get a random one. And there's different costs, as I told you guys before. You have 3s, 6s, and 9s. This was obviously a 3. Then you have another concoction card. All right, so let's get into end of game and then end game scoring. So the game ends when there's only one harvester left on the board to pick from. You have 3 things. One harvester left on the board to pick from. No cards left to draw when the last card is pulled from the concoction deck, or when the last patch is drawn from the bag and put out on the board, right? Once that happens, that is the end game condition, and you start the end game round. So let's say Luna, for whatever reason, got the last harvester just because they're here. Then everyone else in clockwise order gets to take a turn. So Igor would take a turn, Nina would take a turn, and Jack would take a turn. All right. So whoever triggers that in-game scoring, one harvester, no cards left in the concoction stack, no tiles left in the bag. They get to finish their turn, and then everyone else gets one turn. Once that's done, then we go into end game scoring. So end game scoring goes like this. The first thing you want to look at, and keep in mind, these were all your examples, so they're not built out as much. A full game, a lot of these patches would be much bigger, but keep that in mind. So we'll just use this example. In game scoring, you score your concoction cards. And if you look at the top of the card, it'll tell you how many points. You only score cards that you flipped face down. If there is still room for a concoction on the card, like this one was done, but if there was still room on the card, this one doesn't count. This one still has room. I messed that up saying it was finished earlier. There was actually a phantom mellow hiding in the mist. So this card's not done, so you don't get to count that card. You only count the cards that you finished and put down face down. So after that, the next thing that you want to check for are harvesters. So over here we have a couple people with harvesters. Jack has one harvester, and it is 3 points. So he would get 3 points for that harvester. Nina over here has 2 harvesters out on the board, and one should get 1 point for that one because it's a $1, and she would get 4 points for that one because there's $4 there. So for her harvesters, she would get a total of 5 points. Now after the harvesters, then what you do is you look at clusters, so patch clusters. So this is where you have the same type of candy next to each other. So right here, we have the gummy globs. So what you do is you count everything in that patch cluster that doesn't have a harvester on it. So if this one has a harvester, we don't get to count that one, but it helps build the cluster. So we would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is another dreadful tree, which is wild. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nina would get an extra 6 points for that cluster that she has there. Now there's also a cluster over here, but it only has one that doesn't have a harvester on it. So she would get 1 point there. So she'd get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for this cluster right here. Then she would get 1 point for this cluster. Remember, to create a cluster, a harvester has to be connected to that cluster. All right, after you check all your clusters that can score, we have an example actually here too of a cluster that can score. So over here on Jack, he's got that harvester. He's got the dreadful tree right next to, this is the one I can never read, the tracheal teeth. He's got the the dreadful trees next to it. So this counts as 2. So he'd get 1 point for that. So for his clusters, he'd get 1 point. Over here, right, with Luna, she didn't get any of the harvesters out. So none of these clusters would count, right? Because you have some next to each other. You have the dreadful tree that's wild, right? So it'd add in, but there's no harvester anywhere on her board to try to get 1 point for each of those patches in the cluster. All right, once that's done, we get to the final thing, and that is candy. So candy goes like this. For every $5 worth of candy, you get 1 victory point. And how you see how much a candy's worth is as you did throughout the game. The points, the dollars are right there. So in Luna's example, she has 3, 6, 10, 11, 12, 13, 18, 19, 20. We did that pretty well without trying to do it on purpose. So she has $20. Bam, bam. $20 in candy. Each $5 equals 1. So that means she has 5 points for her candy. 4 points. Yeah, my math's all off. Rezwan's here to correct me. 4 points. 20 divided by 5 is 4. So she gets 4 points for her victory points from how much candy she has left. She does not get to count candy that she has on a card. This candy on the concoction cards does not count. We have other examples over here. See, we have Jack has 1, 2, 7, 11, $15 worth of candy because the candy that's there. There's a Sprite there, so that's not a candy. So $15, which gives them 3 points. Is that correct? Jack would get 3 points. So remember, every $5 worth of candy works into 1 victory point. Once you've gathered it all up, you see who has the most victory points. The person with the most victory points wins the game, right? If there's a tie, the tie player looks at the highest value of their leftover candy. Same thing, you count the dollars, whoever has the most candy. If they're still tied, then you look at who has the biggest patch, I believe. The most patches. I lied. It's not the biggest patch, it's the most patches, right? So there's 1, 2, 3 patches here. They would have 1, 2, 3. They'd kind of be tied. If you have maybe more patches over here, no, we got 1 patch, 2 patch, 3 patches. So if you still had that, if they tied in points, victory points, they tied into their what was the second one, Rezwan? Victory points. They tied in the leftover candy. I was gonna say candy. I want to make sure they tied in the candy. Then you would go to your patches and see who had the most patches. But if everybody's still tied to the end of all that, then it is a shared victory. And that is how you play Dreadful Meadows. Now to final scoring. So you know what leads us into final scoring. We're back. That is how to play Dreadful Meadows by Arkus. I keep want to say Studios or Games or something like that, but they just have Arkus on the box. By Arkus. It is a 1 to 4 player game. It takes 45 minutes and it's for ages, now I forgot, 10 up. No, it's 13. Is it 13?
Yeah.
Oh, it's 13. You gotta have that 13 in there. I don't know why it's 13. You could play it at 10. But ages 13
like
up.
13.
They like 13. They're playing with the 13 number. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm Steven.
I'm Rezvan.
And this is Cardboard Coalition.
Yeah. This game is so fun. I hope everyone take it and have a fun, enjoy. If you take it, if you have a good play, please send to us message about it. And nothing. And if you have a question, you can send us comment. Okay.
Of course. Help us grow the coalition by liking,
commenting,
and subscribing. Hit that bell notification. And we'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.
Bye.